How big a problem is this going to be?
Probably it's much bigger than what we have seen of the previous attacks when we had back like 3 to 5 years, when we saw kind of the easier attack coming from speedboats, etc. This is much more sophisticated, and yes, we can have as many warships from US in the Red Sea and at the critical spots, but right now we just don't know how this is going to develop. But just on a general note, everything around South Africa will take around like 8 to 10% out of the capacity for some types of ships, and some will be a little bit less.
So if that's the case, then what does that do to pricing? So how much time does it add on to a cargo, and how much more money could that add on to shipping it?
So in some cases, depends, where you're loading in the Arabian Gulf, or you're coming from Asia, etc. But in general, this from some segments like the LPG, we think we're down to like 2-3%. But on the containers and tankers and LNG, we're talking 8 to 10% of capacity taken out of the market. But remember that this will delay all kind of cargoes, especially from the AG, into Europe that normally will use the transit. So this will have impact.
How does this feed through into OPEC's decision-making, into how governments think about how they're going to be managing their energy needs? Can we now assume that this is a permanent feature of the landscape, that these risks are going to be there, and as a result of which governments, OPEC, need to plan on a longer-term basis around this issue?
Yeah, it's all about, the inventory levels. We have had low inventories now for a long time, especially on the oil side, both on gasoline, jet fuel and crude. And I think a lot of governments have to rethink how they're going to play this. Yes, we have a lot of nat gas in Europe right now, but it's drawing now on an everyday basis. This will delay, and now we're suddenly going to see probably it's going to come off quite hard. So I think in general, even though with high interest market, we have to accept we have higher inventories in general.
Would the reaction in the market to all of this have been higher natural gas prices in Europe as well as higher oil prices? Is that a legitimate response? Where else might you be looking for more response?
I think particularly on the TTF in Europe has been under quite heavily short pressure. Everything is on the weather. If we have a combination of less cargoes coming in and colder weather, it's obviously going to trade higher. On oil, again, it's been underweighted by hedge funds and others, a little bit due to the situation that we're coming off from the mid-90s to the low mid-75. Now we see the support, and CTAs are probably got a little bit short right now. So I think we could trade higher.
Can you put fixes on ships to deal with these issues? Are there anti-missile, anti-drone? Is there anti-drone technology out there that you can put onto ships? When we saw the boats, you'd put armed men on the ships. Is there anything you can do now, and how quickly?
Yeah. This is like, you have crew on board. There are 20, 24,
Make
so
a
26.
really good point.
So, it's normal seafarers. They are not supposed to be trained for this.
Yep.
So in most cases, as Mr. Barstad was mentioning from Frontline, that, you have armed personnel on board. And that's the normal practice. But to start fighting right now, the next months against drones attack, I find it very difficult from a ship owning point of view.
Do you think that this ever officially gets solved, or do we think we just need to think of the Red Sea as not a true, clear signal for cargoes anymore?
The Egyptians and how the Suez authorities are actually calculating the transit. They're smart people, and they know how to squeeze the best out of each time you have transit. So if less ships are passing, they will reduce their fees, and they will try to do whatever to encourage them to go through. So, but the war premium is up 4 or 5 times since the Israel-Hamas. We expect it later this week to go up further.
Is this a problem alongside what's happening in Panama? You've got two of the biggest canals potentially being taken out of action here. One is a problem. Two, it's not 1 + 1. It's got to be a bigger problem than that.
you know, after 30 years in this business, this has never happened before.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a big thing. And so let's say that the dry weather continues in Panama, and this continue with Suez is obviously a shock to the system. We already are undersupplied in the general shipping market due to underinvestments from literally 17, 18 till recently. So there's no quick fix.
No quick fix. And then the Strait of Hormuz so far, okay. What are you watching in the Strait of Hormuz? Because that would obviously be enormously disruptive in a whole different way. What are you monitoring?
On the Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz, I would say just in general, that's too complex and it's too serious. It's only one winner if they start blocking, and that's Iran. Everyone else is losing. It's just, we will have an inflation shock, we will have a price shock. It's just all are losers. So I just don't think it can happen.
But that's what it comes. That's the next risk, isn't it? If you're looking at choke points for the global economy, if you want to have an impact, that's the next obvious potential place to go.
It will be very, very serious, and it will be very bearish for the world economy.
Okay, that's fairly unequivocal. In terms of what you're watching for the next 24, 48 hours, do you expect more shippers to now make the decision that we've seen BP and others making now?
You know, I saw BP and Equinor was quoted that they will not go through the transit through the Red Sea. I think it makes perfectly sense. Mm-hmm. Why take the risk? Why take the risk in general? It's difficult to plan your next oil, arriving at the discharging port to the refinery. It's just difficult. So it makes perfectly sense to just route them through, via South Africa. So that's what we are watching. Will it be more attack? And the number thing is that if they attack a tanker or a LNG vessel, it's much more serious in the consequences with the ship and the crew. So just small attacks to a container vessel is not as serious from an environmental point of view.
It sends a message.